Ladies and gentlemen, please help me receive the former Deputy Foreign Minister of the Republic of Liberia, B. Elias Shoniyin, and he will speak to us on the state and future of African markets.
Thank you very much. Let me first, before my presentation, thank the organizer of this very important gathering. I believe that more of these kinds of conversations need to continue in Africa so that we get it right. And, and before going any further, I would like to also read a quote from one of the world's most acclaimed economists. And this quote will basically capitulate and capture all of what we've been saying here today and what we will continue to say about how Africa can proceed economically. And I read, some countries have progressed more faster than others. Why some have not at all? The explanation for these differences does not seem to lie mainly in the realm of factor endowments. Some countries with poor natural resources, such as Taiwan and Korea, have done so well, while some rich natural resource endowed countries, such as DRC Congo and others, are still floundering. My hypothesis is that the single most important explanatory factor or variable is political organization, the administrative competence of government, and politics. At this point, as a properly modest economist, I disclaim further responsibility and pass the problem to my political science colleagues. What he was actually saying here is we can hold all of the economic forums, we can discuss markets, we can discuss trade. If we don't take very seriously the economic bit, it will all be wasted. So I go directly to my presentation now. Going to the state of market in Africa, I want to agree with Robert Gates in his book entitled Market and States in Tropical Africa, where he argued that in early post-colonial Africa, many African leaders genuinely wanted to achieve development and economic growth. But the policies that were adopted at that time turned out to be a tragedy for Africa. For decades, African markets have been chiefly commodity-based trading in primary resources which were exported to Europe, North America, now China, where these are processed, creating jobs and opportunities for people in those countries, while the people of Africa embellish in extreme poverty and destitute. We could probably justify that policy at the time, 30 to 40 years ago, because there was not much industrialization going on the continent of Africa. But how can we today explain the export of our cocoa, our coffee, our iron ore, our rubber, and other natural resources to countries afar outside of Africa, when countries within our continent, like Rwanda, Ghana, Ethiopia, and many other countries on the continent, are manufacturing cars, machineries, chocolate, and many other manufactured products. A major challenge to trading amongst ourselves in Africa was the lack of adequate infrastructure and small markets spread across the continent. However, since the spark in the establishment of regional economic cooperation blocs, most of these challenges are being mostly addressed. These blocs have created an economy of scale regionally, which has clustered those small markets into one single large regional markets. The regional economic blocks have created sizable markets that can attract market-seeking economic investors and spur massive economic growth once treated with care. According to Statista data, in October 2001, the European was the leading trade partner of Africa. Around 23% of the total trade into the continent involved European countries that year. Meanwhile, 22% of African trade involved China, while 6% to India, and our internal trade remained around 3 to 3.4%. These numbers reveal to us that countries on the continent of Africa are increasingly drifting away from their traditional Western trading partners. However, the shift is not favoring intra-Africa trade. Instead, we are pivoting to China. Ladies and gentlemen, I do recall when I was Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs for International Economic Cooperation, with responsibility to ECOWAS and other regional institutions and multilateral organizations around the world. One message that I took with me every time I had an opportunity to engage with an investor was that once you invest in Liberia, you are investing in an economy or in a market of over 300 million. Bearing in mind the power and force that the ECOWAS Union could bring to economic development and trade and investment attraction to our country. However, why are these markets not performing? If you look at our regional blocks in terms of ECOWAS, SADC, and others around the continent of Africa, in 2021, considering 2021 data, the only two blocks that performed minimally, but yet prosperously, were SADC and the Southern and Eastern Africa Economic Association. Our regional blocks and custom union are of no value to Africans if we fail to take measures that truly bind our economies together as a single market. Today, AFTA has been presented to us again and has presented to us the continent with greater intra-trade possibilities. In addition to the already groundbreaking initiatives undertaken and driven by AFTA Secretariat, African countries must be made to commit to including at least 10% of their annual budget to programs or projects that promote trade integration with their neighboring countries. Implementation of these measures and arrangements must be monitored fully and measured annually. The encouraging news of few regional blocks in our region doing well in terms of trade integration is laudable. However, under the auspices of the African Union, we need to ensure and leverage fully on existing protocols and decisions that allow us to remove barriers and administrative roadblocks to enhancing trade among ourselves. This is an incremental gain that we should build upon. Notwithstanding, these numbers do not tell the whole story in terms of the two regional blocks that have made some marginal gains, as the performances of many of the other regional blocks on the continent are yet to take off. For example, a large regional bloc as ECOWAS, recording 8.18% in terms of internal and ECOWAS-wide trade is decimal. East African Community, for example, EAC, 4.76%, and the Arab Maghreb Union, AMU, 5.44% during the same period, that is 2021. These low internal trade numbers are signaling to us the volume of work left to be done by us Africans and the inter-trade opportunities that are yet ahead. To secure these opportunities that are ahead of us, and I say opportunities because whenever there are targets and there are potential that we have to fulfill and we're not fulfilling, leave sufficient room for us to see that as an opportunity and an objective to pursue. And to achieve these opportunities, we must work intentionally and think beyond our own countries. We must see Africa as a borderless region and also begin seeing ourselves as part of the new African renaissance that we all seek. The future belongs to Africa, but not without working for it. The future looks bright, but we have to go out and claim it. Thank you very much.